Hi, I'm Doug Eady. This is my second conversation with Virginia Jacko, President and CEO of the Miami Lighthouse for the Blind, and co-author with me of our exciting new book, The Blind Visionary. In our last conversation, Virginia talked about losing her eyesight while serving as a senior financial executive at Purdue. And today we want to continue Virginia's dramatic story. Virginia, you continued working for quite some time at Purdue as you were losing your eyesight. That sounds like it must have been an extraordinarily demanding experience. Would you tell us about that?
Well, as I was losing my vision at first, I kept it a secret. I didn't want anybody to know that I was losing my vision. And when you have retinitis pigmentosa, as I mentioned in our previous blog, you lose your vision from the outside, and we read with our central vision. So I could read a spreadsheet, and fortunately I had good memory. And instead of putting my nose down on the paper, I did that in private. And then I would remember what I had read and would talk in a meeting or so forth, just like any other sighted person. So I learned certain adaptive tricks. Another trick that I had is I had to give a lot of talks, go to a lot of meetings, and Purdue is a very large campus with many, many conference rooms. Every building had many conference rooms, and I recall clearly one time the meeting was changed to a conference room that I had no idea where it was, and I was going to be making a presentation. So God bless my husband, who was a professor at Purdue, and the office was just a block away. I'd say, Bob, come and walk with me over to such and so, over in the Dairy Science Building or something like that. There's supposedly a conference room up on the second floor. Walk over there with me. I don't want to look like I have low vision, like I'm stumbling around. I want to know exactly how to feel the desk, where's the blackboard, the whiteboard. I want to be able to have good contact with the audience, and I kind of want to just walk through the room and get a real feel for the room before I make my presentation. And so in my career, as I climbed up the ladder, of course I had 20/20 vision when I began in my 24-year career, and it was only the last few years that window of vision, like a donut hole, started to close in on me. But as I rose up the ladder, I always viewed the people around me as my customers. So whether it was the president or the provost that wanted something, whether it was a colleague that wanted something, I viewed these people as my customer, and I wanted to please. And so I remember clearly on one occasion, the budget office, they would crank out a lot of data. And having been a former financial analyst in my prior career, I loved analytical detail. So they'd prepare these binders, 5 inches thick, and drop them off at the president and provost office. But those people were so busy, and I said to myself, they're so busy, there's no way they're going to look through that. So I would volunteer to summarize it and just give them a 2-page executive summary. On another occasion, the provost during our budget meeting said, I want a frequency distribution of all of the faculty and the percent increases. And so I went to the budget office, and they said, well, we don't do that, Virginia. That's just not part of our practice. And I said, okay, well, then I'll help you do it because that's what the provost wants. And they kind of, stumbled around a little bit, and they told me they'd get back with me, and a day or two went by, and so I just did it myself. And, that probably didn't please them, but my motto was to please the customer, and that was a secret to moving up the ladder. Always believing everybody was your colleague, even those people in the budget office that didn't appreciate me doing their work, but always treating them with respect, and even they were my customer. And that was one of my secrets. So by doing that, as I slowly lost my vision, I feel like, for example, the president, the treasurer, they said to me, and I told them I was, losing my vision leading to blindness. They said, oh, Virginia, we hired you for your brains, not your eyesight. No worry. Now, did they really feel that way? I'll never know, but that was certainly very reassuring.
Now, you tell in the book kind of funny story about a brown bag lunch with your staff. Would you tell that story?
Oh, that's a wonderful story. Thank you for reminding me, Doug. With the senior leadership team that reported to me, I would have once a week a brown bag lunch in a conference room. And that conference room was right next to the provost office. So these would be the senior business office people for the administrative units at Purdue, like student services, research, libraries, 15 units of that type. And so, I wanted to be a good sport. I'd always, throw something in a brown bag, even I often didn't eat lunch. Well, that weekend, my brother had come to visit, and he was a beer drinker. And my husband and I were not. And so that morning, being in a hurry, always kind of like rushing around, I didn't turn on any lights, and we reached in the refrigerator, grabbed a can of what I thought was Pepsi, threw it in the bag, grabbed a piece of bread, slapped some peanut butter on it, threw it in a Ziploc, and headed off to work. And, 10 minutes before my meeting started, since I'd like to be the first one there, went into the conference room, laid my brown bag lunch on the table, and then I thought, well, I'm going to go and talk to the provost while everybody's coming in. And my assistant had gone in my bag and took out my sandwich and would have, put my Coke up there and lined everything up, but it wasn't a Coke. So when I walked back in the room, I didn't even notice there was a can of Bud Light, I hope. And so the gentleman sitting next to me, he was actually the senior financial manager for libraries, leaned over and said, Virginia, I didn't know we could bring beer on campus. And I wanted to die, but I hid my emotion and said, oh, my goodness. My brother came to visit me. I didn't turn the lights on this morning. I left so early. Oh, silly me. And I took the can, and put it back in the brown bag, even though it really was a fact. I didn't see the contrast on that Bud Light can to realize real quickly that was not a Pepsi.
What a great story. And listen, if you're listening to my conversation with Virginia Jacko, you can get a copy of our book, The Blind Visionary, at www.theblindvisionary.com. That's www.theblindvisionary.com. I've been talking with Virginia Jacko, President and CEO of the Miami Lighthouse for the Blind. Thank you very much, Virginia, for taking
Thank you,
the
Doug.
time. And be on the lookout for our third conversation. I believe we'll be talking again in a week or so, Virginia. And thanks a lot. Take care, everyone.
Doug.